Thank you, caller. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'd like to two comments on that. First of all, when you're talking about the Keating Five, he was absolutely at the center of that. But really, you could say he's at the center of what's happened most recently too. He voted for all this deregulation, as we heard earlier on the show. Yes, President Clinton signed it, and the Democrats are not free and clear of this. But John McCain, the guy who most people would say is the lead guy who fought for deregulation, was Phil Gramm, the man who called us all a nation of whiners because we were going through tough economic times. I'm sure while he was sitting there, up on the top floor of his nice glass-enclosed office sipping martinis. But for the rest of us, we're just a bunch of whiners. Well, Phil Gramm fought for the elimination of Glass-Steagall so that investment and commercial banks could come back together and commercial banks could get involved in a lot more of these risky activities, and we're seeing the result of that right now. John McCain chaired Phil Gramm's presidential campaign in 1996. He thought Phil Gramm was the person best prepared to be president of the United States. So think about that for a second. Beyond that, Phil Gramm was his top economic advisor, and until Phil Gramm made a couple of those gaffes about, let out his true feelings that we're all a bunch of whiners, he was set to be Treasury Secretary. It was a known fact that if McCain was elected, that was the top guy he wanted there. So this is a guy that fought for deregulation. He fought for deregulation of energy trading, and look what we got. We got Enron. His wife happened to sit on the board of Enron, so they made out just fine. I mean, really, you could almost say that both of these huge crises that we've gone through, in the last 10 years, have been the handiwork of Phil Gramm, John McCain's top advisor. So, take that for what you will. A quick second point about the bipartisanship. It's very hard to be bipartisan when you're sitting there making up out-and-out lies, flat-out lying, like John McCain's doing now, which he's being called by every major newspaper. It's no longer the stuff that happens normally in campaigns, exaggerations, or you leave something out. He's just basically making things up about Obama's policy on taxes, attacking him with this ridiculous commercial about sex education. That makes it kind of hard to go back then and get along with people in a bipartisan spirit. And the last thing I'll add to that is when you run for president in 2000, only 4 people from your own party in the Senate who know you best support you. The rest endorse other candidates. That should tell you something.
In April of this year, U.S. News came out with a story regarding your book and reactions from the McCain campaign. Amongst those reactions, they used 2 quotes: fabrications and trash is what they described it as. They also went ahead and was asked about, I think this was a gentleman named Hazelbaker, or I think it's someone named Hazelbaker at the McCain campaign, who says, "I hope that the Democrats follow the blueprint laid out by Mr. Schecter, as it will almost certainly guarantee John McCain's victory in November. One thing that is absolutely clear is that Americans are sick and tired of this type of gutter politics." Our next call, Moscow Mills, Missouri, for our line for those who support Senator McCain.
Mr. Schecter, nice talking to you.
Thank you. Good talking to you.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead,
thank you. Good talking to you.
The reason I'm calling is I find it amazing the amount of time you must have spent to be programmed like this. You deserve to be complimented on it. But my question is, I'm just wondering how much time you spent on all this. I mean, I'm just an average guy out here. I've heard John McCain address the Keating Five as he looked into the camera. If I were you, I would write a second book and have Mr. Obama explain Bill Ayers and some of his, let's say his Christian teachings, and have him go into depth like John McCain did about the Keating Five. So, I find it amazing that you can rattle all this off. If I believed everything you just said, John McCain wouldn't be a Republican. He would be a Satanist. So I'd like for you to maybe address Obama's background.
Well, I'll start by saying I never have in the past, nor will I ever say that John McCain should, in fact, join Satan. So that's a little bit of an exaggeration. But where to go with this? Look, I spent a while looking into John McCain. I'm not sure what you mean by programmed. I've been programmed to do this. I looked into John McCain's record, and everything I just told you, you can go look it up for yourself. They're all facts. The Ayers attack on Obama is pure silliness. If you want, I'm not sitting here bringing up every sordid connection that John McCain has. We can. You want to get into how John McCain left his first wife for his current wife when he needed somebody with more money. If you want to get into John McCain's father-in-law's dirty dealings and the fact that he was a convict. If you want to get into John McCain's campaign chairman, Rick Renzi, who's been indicted, or if you want to get into the fact that John McCain raised money from Ralph Reed, who was a cohort of Jack Abramoff's, we can talk about plenty of people. And if the Iyer story is an old story. It's so silly. It's been debunked. So I'm not going to bother with it. Barack Obama can tell you, and Barack Obama's people can tell you about his background. That's not my job. I'm not here as an Obama supporter. I'm here as somebody who wrote a book about John McCain. And is here to fill you in on who the guy really is. And you have the right to not believe me, but you know what? If you think I'm programmed for some reason because you're a Vietnam vet and I don't believe McCain, so that makes me somehow, I don't know what you would see it as, anti-vet, then go and have a talk with Jim Webb or Wes Clark or Jack Reed. Go have a talk with Chuck Hagel from his own party who refuses to endorse him. Talk to some of those folks and see what they think of John McCain.
Wild Rose, Wisconsin. Good morning.
Mr. Schecter, great to talk to you. Hey,
thank you.
As a healthcare professional who works with a lot of veterans, I guess one of my concerns with him is a lot of the people that I've dealt with have pretty strong psychological histories after they go through what Mr. McCain went through.
Right.
Now, I was wondering if you have done any research on his psychological history, such as PTSD or paranoia or anything like that, and or if you know of anything about that, I'd like you to comment. Thank you.
Sure. I didn't do a huge amount on it because, again, as I said, my main goal, where I felt like the ground hadn't been covered, was John McCain as a politician. And so I really want people to know that he wasn't a straight talker, he wasn't a reformer, that who he really is. And so that's what I spent most of my time on. Now, however, I did read, for background, I read some of the stuff, and yeah, there are psychological reports out there, and a lot of them would point to that there's simply no way you can spend 5.5 years in a prison camp and not have PTSD. How will that influence his performance if you're to become president? I don't know. How has it influenced him as a senator? Some people say that that's what's caused him to have this ferocious temper. But then again, when he was in high school, his nickname was McNasty because he used to like picking on the other kids. So could it be both? Maybe what I'll say is maybe his time in the camp was a contributing factor to some of his personality issues. But I don't know enough to be able to say that that's everything and that's what's caused his problems. I just think that he's been a politically expedient guy who's admitted that he wanted to be president from day one. And is willing to do whatever it takes to get there.
Appleton, Wisconsin, last call. Our line for those who support Senator McCain. Appleton, Wisconsin.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Good morning. First of all, I've done an awful lot of reading on John McCain, and yes, there's been discussion about his temper, but there's more discussion about the fact that this man is a true American hero. This man has a lot of depth to him. The reason his marriage broke up when he was 25 years old was a result of him being in that prison camp. His wife is still very, very good friends with him. They're best friends, along with Cindy McCain. There wasn't any discussion at all or fact in the fact that he left his wife for money. It was due to his time away at war. His wife went through an awful lot with him being gone, that a lot of military marriages do break up. So that is definitely not a fact. And the depth of character of this man, you put this up against Barack Obama, there's just no contest.
And unfortunately, we've lost the signal to Mr. Schecter in Ohio, and that's where we'll leave the segment.